Welcome to our Facebook Live. Again, we have with us today Pat Forbis, who is an amazing volunteer at Midlands Mediation Center, but more importantly, she's a family attorney as well as a board member for Planned Parenthood. And their slogan is Planned Parenthood Votes. And that is awesome because our conversation today is all around why I vote. So we thank you all for joining us today in this live broadcast, and please remember to share it with your friends and stuff. Those people that ask the question, why should I vote? So we've made these series of videos to help you answer that question from many different voices to hear them. So I want you all to help me welcome Pat Forbes to our session on today. We're glad to have her here. Welcome, Pat.
Thank you, Kabrina. It's so nice to be here.
Awesome. So I'm gonna start off with our first question, and that question is, why do you vote?
Why do I vote? That's interesting. I think in my family, it was never considered to be a really big thing. I grew up in Ohio. My parents always voted for Republicans, and that's what I heard, but it wasn't a really big deal to them. And as I've gotten older, and as I've explained to our audience, I've gotten involved with various activities that have made me really come to realize how important voting is. I have a philosophy, and I think everybody should develop their own, that government is here to serve us, and that we look to our government for certain things, to protect us, to keep us safe, to stay out of our lives, but help us when we need help. And if you're going to have people who are going to support your philosophy of government, you must vote. You must walk into that voting booth or fill out an absentee ballot or vote absent in person, whatever, but you need to be involved because every aspect of your life is influenced by our government. As Kabrina explained, I'm very much involved with Planned Parenthood, and if you have not even been under a rock or have been under a rock, you know how involved the government has become in that issue, and for me, involved with my bodily autonomy and how I choose to use my body to raise children or whatever. And so I can use my vote to help elect those people that walk in step with me and my beliefs.
Thank you so much, Pat. That is awesome. So when you think about this thing of voting and you think about how you grew up, and I kind of heard you say it earlier, but what was it that your family and or your community taught you about voting that gave you this value of the importance of going to vote?
Well, I think in my family, which was very traditional, and mom and dad, a couple siblings, and my father was head of the household, and he would vote. My mother was more like me; she was involved with political activities, and she made it not a big deal, but it was a very simple deal. You vote. It wasn't like, oh, should I vote or should I do? No, you vote. And at my area in Cincinnati, it was at a church, which seemed very strange. But I remember as a young girl going with her while she went in to vote. And it's just something that always happened. Now, I will say on my behalf, and to be perfectly honest, and maybe many people are like this as well, I didn't really begin to vote regularly until I got out of college. And there was a period of time I wasn't living either in Cincinnati or in South Carolina where we are now, but I lived in California and other places, and I probably didn't vote. And I'm embarrassed to admit that, but I bet I'm not the only one. And I think now I look back on that and go, what was I thinking? But I'm very glad to say that now I have embraced the concept, and now I'm encouraging everybody else to not be embarrassed about the fact you haven't done it for a couple of years, but start doing it now.
And that's a great segue into our other part of it is, why do people need to vote, and how do we encourage other people to vote? So how do we get people like yourself who has stopped to start voting, because we need you to
Isn't
vote?
that the question? Oh, Cabrina, isn't that the question? And it's one I ask often. As a member of the League of Women Voters, I've actually knocked on doors to encourage people to at least register to vote. And amazingly, in South Carolina, a lot of people have taken that step. But how do we get them to walk out the door, go online and order an absentee ballot? How do we get them to do that? And I am amazed this year as because of the number of ads, people like LeBron James and others who are out there putting it on the line, encouraging people to vote. I think that's a wonderful way. with the Democratic Party that I'm involved with here in Richland County, we have something called tripling. So we're going to be at polling places even now when we have absentee in person. And when somebody comes out of the polling place, we go, hey, could you take out your phone and text or call 3 of your friends right now and tell them you just voted and tell them to come down and vote now too. And we're hoping that personal touch and that on the spot commitment by somebody who's actually done it will get their friends to come out and vote. I mean, there's so many challenges to voting. I mean, why a Tuesday in November? I mean, why a Tuesday in November? If you live up in the north, it can be snowing on a Tuesday in November. And we need to think about changing the day. Why couldn't it be on 2 days, a weekend and on weekend? Only having it for a set number of hours. I think the fact that we've expanded absentee in person, at least here in South Carolina, and mail-in ballots, no matter what anybody is saying about those, are all good first steps. But I think that if we made voting a day like Thanksgiving, come home and have your voting feast or your voting dessert, or something that makes it more of a national consciousness that is an enjoyable, positive thing. I think people think of it as a burden, and it's not a burden. It's your opportunity to be involved and to be part of something really big. And we all are on our phones now. We tweet, we Facebook, and I am amazed at the sense of connection you get from that. I think voting should give you that sense of connection. The idea that you are walking with other people to do something that's going to benefit us all. And so I think voting, right privilege, it should be an exciting and gratifying thing that we get to do. It shouldn't be like jury duty, which everybody hates. It should be something you want to do and something that you know that is a positive. And that's why everybody should vote. And how to get them out the door? Anything you can think of is what I'm saying. Food,
Yeah.
I'm saying. The people who stand in line, you've heard about other jurisdictions around the country, 11 hours, 8 hours. Aren't they just amazing?
Yes.
Aren't they people that you just want to honor and say, if they can do it, I can do it?
Yes.
You can download some episodes of your favorite show on your phone and stand there with your earplugs and wait. I mean, it shouldn't be that hard. And everybody should want to do it. Because when you vote, you are part of the process. And we need everybody involved. I think that voting makes you more aware of your community. Who is that school board member that I'm voting for? I need to go find out who that is. What does the school board do? I mean, I think there's so many aspects to why you should vote. I think we need more civics classes in school so kids learn about how our government works. I think that's something we're missing. I know the League of Women Voters has thought about trying to get into schools with programs to help encourage that. I don't know about you, Cabrina, but when I was little, sometimes we would have like in-class votes, like the presidential election. I was always told that I was born the day after, okay, this is really dating me, the day after that Dwight T. Eisenhower was elected. And so my father said, well, you were born on the day that the world became aware that he was going to be president. And so that's always been my connection. My birthday obviously is right around election day. Sometimes it actually is election day. So for me, it's just all about me. But it really is something I've been aware of. Everybody should be, even if it's not your birthday, but you need to vote.
Yes.
I hope that people take that to heart. It's so important. It's like going to see your dentist twice a year or getting a mammogram. It's just something you should do. Something that's good for you and for everybody else. And I don't know about you, when I get that little sticker and I walk out and I see about everybody else with their little stickers, I'm going, we did this. We did this together. It's something we all shared. It wasn't that painful. And we can all do it together. Don't you think? I mean,
yes. I agree wholeheartedly. Yes.
I know you do.
I think it's that excitement that we all connect, even in that voting line. I think that moment, that time that we spend there in line, we get to know other people in our communities and we get to talk about it. And so I think that is a great thing. And so, I get excited about all of it. I'm just like, this is what it is meant to be,
I know. So what are you going to do on November 3rd? Are you going to be sitting in front of the television, eating some popcorn?
Pat, can you believe I signed up to be a poll manager? So I'm going to be working at the polls, but I'm also trying to help coordinate a couple of other things in our communities because I think we need to have tailgate parties at the poll
Yeah,
and
yeah,
some live music,
make it a
food
party.
trucks. Yeah, make it a party and do a little cha-cha slide in the middle of it. I mean,
I was
just
just
make
there.
it.
Oh my gosh, what was that? I mean, I was a poll watcher 2 years ago, and
Mhm,
I was so impressed early in the day how many people got up early or were there by 7 when the doors opened. I was kind of disappointed later on that it kind of fiddled off, and then by
mhm.
7 it was a smaller precinct. But good for you. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
poll watching is interesting, and you may be faced with some challenges, from what I understand. And then you can
Mhm.
call me, since I'm a boiler room attorney for election problems. So yeah, this year more than any other, I have really gotten into the program. I tell you. Hmm.
Thank you so much, Pat.
Oh,
Uh,
thank you, Karina.
Yeah, and thank you all for joining us in this conversation of why I vote. Hopefully, you got some tips, some information that you can share
Excitement.
with other people, and some excitement to
Excitement.
go out to the poll and make a difference. And remember, here at Midlands Mediation, we're just encouraging everybody to vote, vote, and don't forget.